A visible improvement in the standard of living of our people will not come overnight, of course. It is nonetheless feasible to take a meaningful action now which would alleviate the deprivation and misery of the large majority of our population within a short time.
There was a time where the Nigerian Naira was one of Africa's strongest currencies. There was a time where one Naira could buy more than one American dollar. There was a time where Nigerians traveled abroad with confidence, paid school fees overseas without fear, and imported goods without worrying about a collapsed exchange rate. But then something happened. In the mid-1980s, General Ibrahim Babangida's government made a decision that would change the country's economy forever. How did the Naira move from being stronger than the dollar to become one of the weakest major currencies in Africa? And did Ibrahim Babangida destroy the Naira, or was he trying to solve a crisis that had already begun? This is the story of the rise, fall, and the transformation of the Nigerian Naira. Nigeria was enjoying an oil boom. Oil prices were rising. Money flowed into government accounts. Roads were built. Large projects were launched. Government spending increased rapidly. The Naira became one of Africa's strongest currencies. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, the Naira was worth more than a US dollar. Between 1970 and 1980, the Nigerian Naira was traded at an average annual exchange rate of $1 to 0.61 Naira. Imported goods were relatively cheap. Nigeria studied abroad in large numbers. Foreign exchange was easier to obtain. Many Nigerians believed the good times would last forever. But beneath the surface, serious problems were growing. Nigeria's wealth depended heavily on oil. The country earned huge amounts of foreign exchange from oil exports. However, Nigeria was not producing enough of many things it consumed. Instead of building a strong manufacturing sector, Nigeria became increasingly dependent on imports. As long as oil money kept flowing, the weakness remained hidden. But then disaster struck. In the early 1980s, global oil prices began to fall. Nigeria's income dropped sharply. Suddenly, there was less foreign exchange entering the country. The government could no longer spend as freely as before. Foreign debt increased, economic growth slowed, factories struggled, businesses found it easier to import raw materials. The economy entered a difficult period. The Naira was still officially strong, but many economists argued that its value no longer reflects realities.
Fraud, indiscipline, corruption, squandermania, misuse and abuse of public office for self or group aggrandizement, which had assumed debilitating proportions in the last few years, will be dealt with ruthlessly, no matter whoever may be involved.
In 1983, the military government of Muhammadu Buhari came to power. The government refused to devalue the Naira. Instead, strict control were introduced. Foreign exchange was tightly managed. Import restriction increased. The government believed this measure would protect the economy. Supporters praised the policy. Critics argued that shortage became worse. Many businesses struggled to obtain dollar legally. A growing black market emerged. The gap between the official exchange rate and the black market rate widened. Nigeria was facing an economic dilemma.
Thus, the administration will, in particular, take measures to check our galloping inflation and soaring unemployment. Part of these measures may require a review of our ongoing negotiations with the International Monetary Fund and our current debt servicing ratio.
On August 27, 1985, General Ibrahim Babangida overthrew Buhari. Babangida inherited a struggling economy. Foreign debt was rising. Government revenue was weak. The country was under economic pressure. His government began looking for solutions. One option was to seek support from international financial institutions. This will lead to one of the most controversial decisions in Nigerian history. Babangida's regime wanted to borrow a $2.4 billion support loan from the International Monetary Fund in 1985. However, before General Ibrahim Babangida's regime eventually took the loan, the IMF and other international lenders argued that Nigeria's economy needed major reform to devalue the Naira. Their position was simple. The Naira was overvalued. According to many economists, the official exchange rate was artificially high and did not reflect the market realities. The IMF recommended currency devaluation, reduction of government spending, removal of subsidies, economic restructuring. Many Nigerians opposed this idea. Students protested, labor union protested, newspapers debated the issue. People feared the reform would make life harder. The government officially rejected a full IMF loan package. However, many of the recommendation policies were later adopted. In 1986, Babangida launched the Structural Adjustment Program, commonly called SAP. This program changed Nigeria's economy drastically. The government argued that the painful reform was necessary to save the country. The goal was to reduce dependence on oil and allow market forces to play a large role. For the Naira, the biggest change was yet to come. Before SAP, the government largely controlled the value of the Naira. After SAP, Nigeria moved towards a market-based foreign exchange system. The government created the second-tier foreign exchange market. For the first time, market demand and supply played a major role in determining the Naira's value. The results were dramatic. The Naira began to lose value rapidly. Many Nigerians were shocked. A currency that had once been stronger than the dollar was now falling against it. Years after years, the decline continued. What had been a slow problem suddenly became visible to everyone. The effects were immediate. Imported goods became more expensive. Food prices increased. Transportation costs rose. School fees abroad became harder to afford. Medical treatment overseas became more expensive. Many families experienced a decline in their standard of living. For ordinary Nigerians, SAP became associated with hardship. Many citizens blamed Babangida directly. Supporters of SAP argued that devaluation would help Nigerian industries compete. But many factories depended on imported raw materials. As the Naira weakened, production costs increased. Factory operation became more expensive. Some companies reduced staff, others shut down completely. Unemployment rose. Industrial growth remained weaker. Critics argue this period accelerated Nigeria's deindustrialization. Before the reform, many Nigerians paid little attention to the dollar. After SAP, the dollar became increasingly important. Businesses began watching exchange rate daily. Importers focused on access to foreign currencies. The black market grew larger. Supporters of Babangida said the economy was already in crisis before 1985. The Naira's official value was unrealistic. Artificial control could not continue forever. Reforms were painful but necessary. According to the view, Babangida did not create the problem. He simply exposed economic weaknesses that had existed for years. Supporters argued that maintaining the old exchange rates would eventually have causes and even bigger crises. But however, critics strongly disagree. They argue that SAP was implemented poorly. Local industries were not protected. Devaluation happened too quickly. Too much reliance was placed on foreign economic advice. Poverty increased significantly. For many critics, the Babangida years marked the beginning of the Naira long decline. They believe the country will never fully recover from this decision. Since the 1980s, different governments have tried various exchange rate policies. Some returned to tighter control, others moved towards market-based system. Yet, one reality has remained constant: the Naira has never returned to its former strength. Successive governments have struggled with inflation, foreign exchange shortage, oil dependence, import dependence, currency instability. The debate that began during the Babangida era continue even till today.